In view of the emerging security situation, President Bola Tinubu declared a nationwide security emergency and ordered additional recruitment into the armed forces. By this declaration, the police and the army are authorized to recruit more personnel. The police will recruit an additional 20,000 officers, bringing the total to 50,000. He said he previously approved the nationwide upgrade of police training facilities. The police authorities are, by this statement, authorized to use various National Youth Service Corps camps as training depots. The officers being withdrawn from VIP guard duties should undergo crash training to debrief them and deliver more efficient police services when deployed to security-challenged areas of the country. The DSS also has the authority to immediately deploy all the forest guards already trained to flush out the terrorists and bandits lurking in the forest. The agency also has his directive to recruit more men to man the forest, as there will be no more hiding places for agents of evil. He commended the security agencies for working together to secure the release of the 24 schoolgirls in Kebbi and the 38 worshippers in Kwara State, saying they will continue to sustain the efforts to rescue the remaining students of Catholic school in Niger State and other Nigerians still being held hostage. He said his administration will support state governments which have set up security outfits to safeguard the people from the terrorists bent on disrupting the nation's peace. The president called on National Assembly to begin reviewing laws to allow states that require state police to establish them. The president added that his administration has created a livestock ministry to address the persistent clashes between herders and farmers and called on all herder associations to take advantage of it, end open grazing and surrender illegal weapons. He sympathized with the families who have lost their loved ones in recent attacks on soft targets in Kebbi, Borno, Zamfara, Niger, Yobe, and Kwara states. He also paid tribute to the brave soldiers who have paid the ultimate price, including Brigadier General Musa Uba, urging citizens not to give in to fear and never succumb to despair, but stand together in purpose and strength to defend the nation's freedom and values. The Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, has reiterated the Nigerian Navy commitment to safeguarding the nation's oil and gas infrastructure. The Naval Chief gave the assurance while on an operational tour of the Niger Delta Command. Baratua Pere Awe reports.
It was a day of high military activity here in Yenegua as the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, arrived to evaluate the Navy's preparedness in the heart of the Niger Delta, home to Nigeria's most vital oil asset and a region long challenged by sabotage, crude oil theft, and maritime crime. The Naval Chief said his visit is part of an ongoing assessment tour aimed at aligning operations with emerging security threats. Having served previously in the Central Naval Command, Admiral Abbas described the terrain as familiar, noting that it places him in a strong position to identify gaps and strengthen maritime security strategies. Rear Admiral Idi Abbas was conducted by the FOC Central Naval Command Rear Admiral Suleiman Ibrahim round ongoing infrastructure projects and facilities within and outside the Central Naval Command to further understand the challenges and giant strides of the command before receiving detailed briefings on recent operations, including efforts to curb illegal refining, pipeline vandalism, and rising cases of oil theft. Senior commanders assured him that despite the increasing pressure nationwide, joint maritime forces remain resolute.
That is why I'm here. Definitely the welfare of the officers and men is the top priority. If their welfare is not being seriously taken care of, then I don't think they can be achieving what they are achieving. So basically, yes, it's an operational visit here and to also look into their welfare issues, which we have been addressing and we continue to address them.
For the new Chief of Naval Staff, the mission is clear: restore confidence, tighten security around critical national infrastructure, and reinforce the Navy's role in stabilizing the nation's economy. In Yenegua, Baratwaipre Awe, NTA News.
Senate is proposing death penalty for offences bordering on kidnappings and other terrorism-related crimes with no option of fine. It therefore resolved that the Terrorism Act be amended immediately. Senate also asked President Bola Tinubu to rejig Nigeria's security architecture for optimal results as it resolves to stand with him in the fight against insecurity. Senate dissolved the Standing Committee on National Security and Intelligence, as well as Senate Committee on Air Force, and resolves to reconstitute them within 1 week. The committees on Defense, Army, Navy, Interior have also been directed to brief the Senate at closed session within 1 week and submit reports of their reports to plenary in 2 weeks' time. These formed part of resolutions adopted as Senate debates the recent spike of attacks on soft targets in parts of the country. Senate is suggesting the deployment of technology, stiffer penalties on kidnapping, banditry and insurgency, as well as using any means possible to put a stop to these heinous crimes. The lawmakers also canvass sharing of intelligence by the U.S. and international community in order to restore safety and peace across communities. The federal government has been charged to exercise political will to deal decisively with terrorism and all forms of violent extremism using kinetic and non-kinetic measures. This was among submissions by several lawmakers of the House of Representatives, which continues day 2 of debates on the security situation in the country. Parliamentarians agreed that insecurity manifests differently across the geopolitical zones of the country, but urged government to confront terrorism head-on and also ensure thorough scrutiny of military recruitment. Assembly correspondent Mitari Ikpen reports that the House is yet to come up with resolution on the security issue. Federal government has given backing to the first ever Hope Unity Summit and Festival to drive the message of peaceful coexistence to local communities. Organized by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution and the Unity Project Nigeria, the summit is on a mission to unite Nigerians across all tribes, religions and backgrounds through peace advocacy, youth development and national cohesion initiatives. The 2-day summit, slated for 11th and 12th of December, will specially focus on issues of insecurity, ethnic tension, political mistrust, economic hardship and social fragmentation, which are now felt across communities. The Institute says Nigeria would take its rightful position in Africa with cultural promotion and harmonious coexistence, which the summit represents.
Partners, one of the critical partners, and we're happy to be part of this movement. We believe that every Nigerian will join hand with us so that at the end of the day, the peace, the love, the joy, the prosperity that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised us and is working towards implementing, we will all benefit from it.
What do you do to protect your congregation? What do you do to protect your mosque? What do you do to protect your local community? So all of that information will be given at the summit. And so by our showcase, we're able to connect the grassroots with the government institutions. This is what we're passionate about at the Unity Project Nigeria.
Let's look at other issues. Guinea-Bissau military officers have announced they've seized total control of the country. Just 3 days after presidential and legislative elections, borders are closed. The president has been deposed and state institutions suspended. Gunfire was heard near the presidential palace as the coup unfolded. Military officers are now in charge of the nation. All borders have been sealed and state institutions suspended until further notice. Hours earlier, gunshots rang out near the presidential palace in Bissau. Witnesses reported armed men storming the building as the crisis deepened. President Umaru Sissoco Embalo said he was being arrested inside his office. He described the takeover as a coup led by the Army Chief of Staff, though he insisted no violence was committed against him personally. The Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, General Bigel Na Intan, Deputy Chief of Staff General Mamadou Toure, and Interior Minister Boche Kande were also arrested during the operation. The announcement comes just 3 days after elections in which both leading candidates claimed victory, fueling political uncertainty. The military says it will clarify the situation before returning to constitutional order. Gunfire near the Election Commission and the palace underscored the brutality of the moment. Residents were left fearful as soldiers tightened their grip on the capital. The situation in Guinea-Bissau remains fluid. The military insists it has taken total control, but questions loom over what comes next for the country's fragile democracy. A massive blaze tore through several high-rise apartment blocks in Tai Po, Hong Kong, leaving at least 13 people dead and dozens injured. The inferno, which started on bamboo scaffolding, quickly spread across multiple towers, trapping residents and overwhelming firefighters. Glory Agbo reports.
A towering wall of flames engulfed the Wang Fuk Court Estate in Hong Kong's Tai Po district. Thick smoke billowed into the night sky as bamboo scaffolding ignited, spreading fire across at least 5 of the estate's 8 buildings. Residents watched in horror as the blaze intensified. "It's heartbreaking. We are worried there are people trapped inside," said one local resident, his voice trembling with fear. Authorities declared a 5-alarm fire, the highest level. By nightfall, the Fire Services Department confirmed 13 deaths, including 9 at the scene and 4 in the hospital. 15 others were injured, 2 critically. Tragedy struck the emergency services as well. A 37-year-old firefighter was found with severe burns after losing contact for half an hour. He later died in the hospital. Police evacuated nearby buildings as the flames showed no signs of slowing. Temporary shelters were opened, highways closed, and residents urged to stay indoors. "The fire is not yet under control and I dare not leave," one apartment owner told reporters. Hong Kong, known for its densely packed skyscrapers, has seen fewer deadly fires in recent decades, thanks to stricter safety measures. But scaffolding-related blazes remain a concern, with similar incidents reported earlier this year. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. For now, a city mourns the lives lost and prays for those still missing. Glory Agbo, NTA News.
Talks between the European Union and the African Union have concluded in Angola's capital, Luanda. Migration, trade and cooperation on global issues dominated the agenda on the second day of the summit. But discussions were partly overshadowed by Europe's scramble to respond to a U.S. plan aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. The summit brought together leaders from both continents to strengthen ties and address pressing challenges. Africa Union Chairperson Joan Lourenço underscored the AU's position, drawing parallels with Africa's own history of independence struggles. He reaffirmed support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, stressing the universal right to self-determination. As the summit closed, both unions pledged to deepen cooperation, even as geopolitical tensions continue to shape the global stage. So let's take a breather. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying. The government of the People's Republic of China has pledged strong technical and diplomatic support for Nigeria's ongoing efforts to modernize and automate operations at its seaports, signaling a deepening partnership between both countries in the maritime sector. China's Vice Minister of Transport, Mr. Li Yang, made the commitment during a bilateral meeting with Nigeria's Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adeboyega Oyetola, on the sidelines of maritime engagements in London. Mr. Li Yang praised President Bola Tinubu for establishing the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, describing the decision as a transformative step for Nigeria's maritime future, reaffirming China's support for Nigeria in the upcoming International Maritime Organization Council election scheduled for Friday, 28 November. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy Adeboyega Oyetola, in a statement by his special advisor Bolaji Akinola, expressed deep appreciation for China's continued partnership and its pledge to back Nigeria's IMO Council bid, assuring that Nigeria would reciprocate the goodwill. He highlighted Nigeria's desire to deepen technical collaboration with China in several strategic areas, including port digitalization, maritime safety, shipbuilding, and ship repair capacity. In other news, Vice President Kashim Shettima has declared that Nigeria's journey towards food security and sovereignty is non-negotiable, as the government intensifies policies on seed production and the fight against fake and substandard agricultural inputs. The Vice President's message was delivered at the 8th edition of the Seed Connect Africa Conference and Exhibition, currently underway in Abuja. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
It is the 8th edition of Seed Connect Conference and Exhibition, created to raise awareness on seed production, agricultural innovation, policy and partnership across the African continent.
Seeds for African Future.
The conference seeks to promote knowledge sharing, networking and sustainable agricultural solutions. This year's edition marks a historic milestone celebrating 50 years of seed system development in Nigeria and highlighting remarkable progress in seed production, distribution and climate resilience.
The launch you are doing today is a very big contribution to our food security, not only in Nigeria, but also in Africa.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, represented, stated that the current administration recognizes seed as the foundation driver of national food security.
Our priorities, from stabilizing food prices and expanding domestic food production to creating jobs for our women, youths, and disabled, all share a common non-negotiable prerequisite. A reliable, efficient, and innovative system is at the center, is at the core of all our food security agenda.
The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security also addressed the gathering, highlighting the significant achievements recorded in Nigeria's seed industry.
Meeting domestic demand is our primary responsibility, but we must also build systems that position Nigeria to compete across Africa and in global markets. Higher yields driven by certified seed, healthy soils and stronger research adoption will ensure that Nigeria feeds itself and emerges as a reliable supplier to the region and beyond.
Participants from across Africa and beyond showcase a wide variety of high-quality seeds specifically adapted to Nigerian soil and climate conditions. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And still on agribusiness, the National Council on Livestock Development has recommended all states of the Federation to establish ministries of livestock to complement government efforts at the centre. The Council also appealed to subnational government to have dedicated budget for transboundary animal diseases, pests and zoonoses to address emerging animal diseases. Yusuf Jiga reports.
Delegates at the first National Council on Livestock have deliberated and come up with some far-reaching recommendations of transforming the industry in subnationals to adopt National Livestock Growth Accelerated Strategy (NLGAS) to raise the country's GDP from $32 billion to $74 billion by 2035. The Council also encouraged states to adopt one health platform with legal instruments to address emerging zoonoses and establish a functional state desk office for youth and women initiative with 30 to 40% empowerment programs. It also identified strengthening of animal identification and traceability for improved disease surveillance, international trade and animal rustling, as well as promoting inter-community relations among farming and pastoral communities.
every animal will have microchip in its body, and that no animal without a chip will be transported to anywhere, to any live animal market, livestock market, will be a suspect.
At councils like this, state commissioners or their representatives will be called up to give us updates on the memos they probably got approvals and the previous council meeting.
The second edition of the National Council on Livestock Development is billed for Lagos State in 2026. In Yola, Yusuf Jika, NT News.
Nigeria has recorded a major breakthrough in its fight against HIV, meeting 2 of the 3 global 95-95-95 targets. This is according to the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, ahead of the 2025 World AIDS Day. Uche Oguchukwu reports.
NACA's Director General, Dr. Temitope Ilori, says Nigeria is now steadily advancing toward ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. This is as new data shows 87% of people living with HIV know their status, 98% of those diagnosed are on treatment, and 95% of those on treatment have achieved viral suppression. NACA also reports a 46% decline in new infections over the last decade, despite global funding cuts, economic pressures, and fluctuating donor supports.
And I must say that our collaboration with the civil society, with the community-led organizations, has further strengthened community systems, helping us to expand access to HIV testing, prevention, and treatment services.
However, persistent stigma, dependence on external funding, high pediatric HIV cases, and underserved, hard-to-reach communities remain challenges. Partners commend resilience and upcoming rollout of the long-acting HIV prevention drug in 2026.
Bold shifts in HIV programs have been initiated with a focus on integration, sustainability, and mobilizing domestic resources to bridge the fund financing gap.
This year theme, overcoming disruptions, sustaining Nigerian HIV response, call on all of us to rethink, redefine our response, and rise above the challenges of an unstable funding landscape.
The agency is optimistic that Nigeria is close to achieving an AIDS-free generation, but appealed for sustained momentum from all quarters. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Next will be sports update.
12 polo teams are competing in this year's Polo for Education tournament at the Kefi Polo Ranch, with the former champions Kefi Ponies leading the competition alongside Makomais from Jos. In an early match on Tuesday, Rubicon Polo Club secured a 6-3 victory over Husky after 5 chokers. The ranch founder Ahmed Aliu Wadada stated that this year's event aims to support the education of orphans and underprivileged children while fostering community ties and encouraging social inclusion.
It is about giving back to the society for the good of humanity. You know, we organize 2 tournaments every year, one in support of orphans and the other in support of education. Coincidentally, marking our 10th anniversary at this tournament, which comes in support of education.
Elsewhere, 2 European champions face off at the Parc des Princes on Wednesday evening as Paris Saint-Germain hosts Tottenham Hotspur in the UEFA Champions League group stage. The match is a rematch of this year's UEFA Super Cup, where the League One leaders triumph on penalties, but visiting supporters might be worried about a heavier loss this time. While at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal will confront Bayern Munich, reviewing a historical rivalry known for its high-scoring games. Meanwhile, at Anfield, Liverpool will compete against Dutch champion PSV. Both teams recognized for their quick and aggressive playing style. And lastly, in boxing, British-Nigerian fighter Anthony Joshua has reassured his fans that he is steering a career in the right direction ahead of his upcoming fight with Jake Paul in Miami on December 19. The boxing fraternity were left stunned earlier this month after reports emerged that both Joshua and Paul were finalizing a deal to meet in the ring this Christmas. With Sport Update, Peter Oibu, NTA News.
That concludes the news. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Bye.